Alright guys, Bone Zone here. We're going to go ahead and talk about the ethmoid bone. And the ethmoid bone is located anteriorly to the sphenoid and forms the roof and lateral walls of the nasal cavity and medial wall of the orbit. So it's a single bone, and you just got to note the fact that it's kind of embedded in like a whole bunch of other bone. So I'm going to go ahead and try to point it out for you just from the superior view. This portion right over here is the sphenoid or the ethmoid bone, and then you could also see that it forms the medial wall of the orbit. And then I'll go ahead and keep on extending inferiorly and give a part of the bony nasal septum right over here. So the structures that you need to know are about 5 of them, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about each one. So from the superior view, which is right over here, this structure is called your crista galli. So the crista galli is the anterior attachment of the false cerebri. So what was the attachment of the false cerebelli? The false cerebelli attachment was the occipital crest, the internal occipital crest. So make sure you know that. And then that was false cerebelli. False cerebri will be the attachment through the crista galli. So crista galli is false cerebri. So make sure you make a note of that. False cerebri. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the cribriform plate. In the cribriform plate, you can see these little holes, these spicules. That's where the the olfactory nerves will actually go through, and that's a perforated passage for the olfactory nerve. So the cribriform plate, the crista galli, pretty much sits on top of the cribriform plate. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone, which you can see right over here. On the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone will inferiorly have attachment to the nasal cartilage, as well as inferiorly meet with the vomer bone. So that's pretty much it in terms of what you need to know for the ethmoid bone on the skull. I think what you should make a note of is the superior and middle nasal conchae, which are surface areas of nasal epithelium. You should probably make a note of those when you did your sagittal cut in your body, and then on your actual body of the cadaver. And then also just make a note of the sinus system, so where the ethmoid sinus is located, and the draining for your lecture as well as the practical purposes. But the high yield again would be the cribriform plate, the crista galli, and the crista galli again was the attachment point for the false cerebri, as well as the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone, which is located again right over here and helps form part of the bony nasal septum. So that's pretty much it for the ethmoid bone, and that pretty much concludes our video on the ethmoid. So if you can, just go home and study hard and try your best. Thank you very much.